I can only imagine what it is you're going through.
Anytime you're going to cast a role as big as Spider-Man, there's a huge search involved, and Seraphin and her team looked at 7,500 tapes.
It was crazy. It was a pretty daunting process. I went through a phase of just doing self-tapes after self-tapes after self-tapes. I guess when you can do what I can do, maybe you have a responsibility to do some good with it.
Then we met about 200 boys, and there were so many of them that were so good. But Tom was different than everyone else.
Okay, then.
There was just something about Tom Holland's performance that was just so energetic and real and grounded and full of attitude.
There was all these screen tests, and I got to meet Tom while he was in the final run in there.
God, I don't want to jump the gun. No, I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I love adventure. Yeah.
Tom, we got even luckier because we found a kid who not only is a great actor, but he also can do a standing backflip just for fun. For a young man walking into a room with Robert Downey and into a room with Chris Evans, action! That's got to be terrifying as an actor. Like, you're walking in with probably your childhood idols.
Do I need to do that? I know we're on different teams. I just don't want to be disrespectful to you.
You can surrender.
Wait. Whoa, that thing does not obey the laws of physics.
And obviously he got the gig.
What are you doing here?
It's about time we met. You been getting my emails, right?
About the grant.
The September Foundation.
Right.
Yeah. Remember when you applied?
Seriously, kid, where are you from?
Queens.
Well, maybe it's time you went back to Queens.
A little help? Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Spider-Man Marvel Phase 4 video with Avengers Easter eggs, Iron Man Marvel Phase 4 Easter eggs, so we'll break it all down. It's funny watching Tom Holland's original audition there for Captain America Civil War and the Avengers movies. It gives you a really good sense for his evolving relationship with those characters, with Captain America and Iron Man. So I'll talk about them during Marvel Phase 4 and some of the Easter eggs heading into Spider-Man 3, as well as Avengers 5 and the other future Tom Holland MCU movies. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing giveaways for copies of the Marvel Avengers game. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know what kind of Iron Man Easter eggs you want them to include in Spider-Man 3. All the improv they did, all the backflips that he did on the spot, the Russos actually told him before that audition to go ahead and do the backflips. The other funny thing about his audition here that you may not know is that it is actually Chris Hemsworth that put in a good word for him. So he actually worked with Chris Hemsworth on a movie before this happened, so they were already buds. He knew that Tom Holland was going up for Spider-Man, so he tried to put in a good word with the executive producers, with Kevin Feige, with the Disney CEO. But it is fun to watch his relationship with those characters, with Iron Man and Captain America evolve through Avengers Endgame and now Spider-Man Far From Home. Even though Captain America is an old man living in retirement right now, Spider-Man is still a huge Cap fanboy, and they give you a pretty good idea for how his relationship with the Iron Man character has evolved since his death. Still an Iron Man fanboy, but the whole plot of Far From Home, as the producers say, was intended to be him learning the truth of fake Nick Fury's words. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Spider-Boy becoming Spider-Man, making his own suits. I know everyone is really excited to see Spider-Man be more like comic book Spider-Man and do more things on his own. It seems like that's going to be happening during Spider-Man 3, taking him back to Spider-Man basics. But getting into more Iron Man, Spider-Man, Marvel Phase 4 Easter eggs, Spider-Man 3, Avengers 5, a lot of you have been asking what's going to happen with the Stark Tech glasses, Edith, and the orbital weapons platform, and all the Stark Tech that he has access to around the world. Because even though Pepper is still technically CEO handling the day-to-day running of Stark Industries, she's mostly being a mom to Morgan Stark, raising her, till she winds up turning into the Catherine Langford version of the character that we saw during that Avengers Endgame alternate ending scene. She also said that she'd love to come back for those of you that are hoping for some Young Avengers deep cuts when they get into big time travel storylines. Gwyneth Paltrow kind of said that she's semi-retired from Marvel movies, pending Robert Downey Jr. asking her to come back if he comes back to cameo. She said that she would always come back to be Pepper to Iron Man's Tony Stark, so it sounds like we won't see any Pepper unless Iron Man comes back. But Spider-Man still has the Edith glasses at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. He did not give those back, and the glasses give Spider-Man way more than just the weapons platform. We already know that the AI is a full new version of Friday, like the newest version of Jarvis, because Jarvis became Vision during Avengers Age of Ultron. Then Iron Man built Friday to replace him, and now Edith is replacing Friday. I'm assuming that Suit Lady, the Karen AI that was inside the classic Stark Tech suit, isn't around anymore because he kind of destroyed that suit and built the new one. But you have to imagine that anything that Friday could do for Iron Man, give him access to any Stark Tech around the world as well as hack other tech, The new Edith glasses can also do that for Spider-Man, and even before he got Edith, his regular Stark Tech suit, the classic one, before the upgrade, was able to hack the New York City passport office to get him through the line faster when he was running around town getting ready for the class trip. Edith is way more powerful than what he had in that old Stark Tech suit. He's going to need all the advantages that he can get to keep him one step ahead of the law and the Sinister Six villains that are going to be chasing him around during Spider-Man 3, at least until he clears his name. I know everyone's still holding out for Daredevil hope. He needs a lawyer to help him. There's also She-Hulk. Technically, she's a lawyer in the MCU. We know she's going to get a Disney Plus series, but no idea when they're going to introduce that character. As of this fall, Marvel is also free to use the Daredevil character again, but right now that's just speculation that Daredevil is going to show up during an MCU movie. Right now, the other Avengers who are still alive would also be able to help him on the DL. War Machine is one of the few who are still technically government employees because he's still active military, so he does have to answer to Thunderbolt Ross on the World Security Council. But even during Avengers Infinity War, he effectively muted all notifications from Thunderbolt Ross in order to help Captain America's Secret Avengers when they showed up with Vision. So regardless of who they have to answer to, any of the Avengers are fair game to do Spider-Man a solid during Spider-Man 3. But one of the other really cool Iron Man things that the Avengers movies never got into that much was the idea that because of the way Stark Tech is engineered, all the software, all the hardware, Tony Stark has backdoor access that Jarvis or Friday or now Edith can instantly hack. So if a criminal or a villain somewhere around the world stole a bunch of Stark Tech weaponry, Spider-Man's new Edith AI can actually hack that remotely and take it over. That also includes all of Iron Man's armory. Now, I don't expect him to start wearing any kind of Iron Man suits because he had the Iron Spider suit. He still has that back at Aunt May's house. But the whole idea of Spider-Man 3 is that he can't go home. So I think the idea is that he won't be able to get that suit. He'll have the one that he just upgraded. That'll probably get destroyed too because he always gets a new suit every single movie. But effectively, Spider-Man now has control of all Stark Tech of any kind all over the world, including that weapons platform. It's just all the focus was on the weapons platform during Far From Home. But I think part of the idea in starting Spider-Man 3 where they do with the character, with him on the run, is to make him feel like he's isolated from everyone else, his old friends, the other Avengers. Can't go home, can't go hide out at the Avengers base because it was destroyed. The real key, I think, during Spider-Man 3 is again Nick Fury showing up. The real Nick Fury this time. He helped him during Far From Home, but technically it was by proxy through fake Nick Fury, aka the Skrulls, Talos and his wife. They weren't even supposed to be there for anything more than being glorified couriers. That's the way that Talos explains it during that apologetic phone call to Nick Fury in the post-credit scene. We gave the kid the glasses like you asked to. He was just supposed to give him the Edith glasses as part of Iron Man's last will and testament, and that was it. But then all the Mysterio stuff with the elementals blew up, and then everyone started asking for the Avengers to rush in and help, and he had no idea where the Avengers were because he's Talos, and real Nick Fury didn't tell him what was going on with the Avengers after Endgame. So like he said, we really need you to come back. So it's safe to say that Nick Fury comes back for at least a small cameo to help clean up the mess that Spider-Man and Mysterio created. But for those of you wanting more classic comic book Spider-Man, him doing things on his own, making his own tech, his own suits, when you think about the events of the last two films in his arc, they've slowly been stripping away all of the Iron Man tech that's built into his suits. So during Spider-Man 3, it's a pretty easy prediction to make that he'll have to rely on his own abilities more, his own instincts, talking about Spidey sense or the Spidey tingle, whatever they want to call it in the MCU. More of him MacGyvering himself out of situations while he's fighting new Sinister Six villains. They kind of did that with the Iron Man character during Iron Man 3. They basically took him out of the suit and he had to MacGyver his way through that Mandarin situation, even though it was the fake Mandarin. The real Mandarin will show up during the Shang-Chi movie. I've already done a teaser video for that because we got some behind-the-scenes footage. I'll link it at the end of this because there are some funny moments with the Trevor version of the Mandarin. But thematically, I think we can all agree that Kraven is probably the top pick for the villain that they're going to introduce during Spider-Man 3, taking things back to basics, taking them back to their more animalistic state, hunting Spider-Man like an animal. Let me know in the comments though, going forward in the Spider-Man movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, what kind of Iron Man Easter eggs do you want to see them include in the stories as Spider-Man continues to evolve as a character and get older? Recently, there was a bunch of news about the title for Spider-Man 3 possibly leaking out. You can click here to learn all about that, and you can click here for that Marvel Shang-Chi movie teaser. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.